Hi everyone from Giaco. After living over a decade in Finland, I decided to help building a bridge between the English-speaking people living in Finland and the local community. Listen to my podcast to discover the most interesting and incredible people from Finland and to dig into Finnish culture and controversial issues that impact all of us in our daily life. And now sit back and enjoy listening. Bye! Hi everyone, the following is a conversation with Ufoka Eugene, the chairman of the African Anti-Racism Society. With him, we talk about racism in Finland, about the government restriction and how here in Finland there is institutional racism. This was a really interesting conversation on a subject that really matters and should be spread to all the listeners. Now, enjoy. All right, we are all set up.
Yes.
So, welcome Eugene to the podcast, and I would start maybe asking you if you can describe and tell who you are, where you come from, something about you to open up the discourse.
Yeah. So thank you very much for inviting me here and giving your platform so we can have this conversation. My name is Eugene, and I am from what is known as the British Southern Cameroon. There's a long history there about the history of the Cameroons in Africa anyway. So I moved to Finland 2010, and ever since I have been living in Finland and working in Finland.
At what age? What age you were when you came in?
I was born in 1986. I moved here after my high school, so I was around 23, 24 years old, if I would say, because I have lived here almost 18 years now. So last September was my birthday, so last week, September 9, actually.
Oh, okay, happy birthday.
So, yeah, thanks.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I brought you here because I would like to talk about racism in Finland. It is, I would not call it a controversial matter because it is something that it has to be spoken about, but it is still something that divides part of the society, and it is still something that sometimes is not treated in the right way. So, tell us first of all, what is your understanding of racism? What is racism?
Well, I think that racism is a very, very big complex topic in itself, and if you have to talk about it, there's many dimensions to that, but we just try to keep it very simple that the ordinary person could understand what we are talking about. And I'm just going to read a quote here from one academic publisher, Goldbeck. He made that in 2015. He says, "Race today is supposed to be a thing of the past, and yet all we do is seemingly we talk about it. We talk about race when we are not talking about race. And we don't talk about race when we should be talking about race." So this actually means that if anybody try to, for example, deny to recognize that we are different, means that you want to deny the reality of something, because we live in a society, in a world that everything that is around us is somehow governed or, goes by what race, what skin color the person have.
Yes.
So it's a very important thing in everybody's life, because you as a white man sitting here, that means a lot, even if you don't even know that or experience that. But if you go to places, they treat you because of this who you are that they see, So that also means the same to me as a black person, black man. If I go anywhere, people directly see me, and there's already something in them that they think they know me based on a race is the same way that the assumptions. Yeah. So I think that race is a very important thing in that way, to always try to talk about it. And when I look at racism itself, this is what I think that, when we spend so much time talking about racism, it becomes a bit maybe political in a way.
Sure.
And I like people to see that racism should be more about talking about race, this concept of race, which is a social construct that was constructed, in the 1500s to divide people based on their skin pigment. That what does that do to a society? If we start to think that what does race actually do to society? Because this categorization of people based on their race or their skin color, where they come from, means a lot, because that concept determines whose life is more important. It determines also who should be employed in a certain office. It determines also who should die and who should live. It determines who is civilized and who is uncivilized. you know.
Yeah.
So that concept itself is where the problem is, you know. So instead of talking more about racism, let's look about what this concept of race does in the simplest, you know, way.
So the race was a framework constructed to separate
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
But where, when, and how, and why then it was attached some negative thing to one compared to the other?
Yeah, if you go back historically, you know, I have some, of course, we cannot go into more of like academic data here like this, unfortunately, but that is the truth that race, the construction of race concept coincides with the same time with the European enslavement and colonization of Africa. So that is the main purpose that, you know, the European colonizers and enslavers, they have to frame a structure to say that, oh, look, we are going there, you know, to save those people from themselves. Those people are lesser than us.
Yeah.
You know, so they create that structure of racial hierarchy where the white European person, when I use the word white, I mean European in reference, you know.
Yeah, they are dominant.
The dominance, yeah. So they have the power. And that have kind of stayed with the world till today. And it is only now that, or in recent years and past decades, people like Martin Luther King Jr. and many other civil rights activists around the world also have really tried to challenge this perspective of thinking that it is a social construct, which is not correct, because even if you go really back in time, you see that what the Nazis did in Namibia, in Africa, they tried to use black people to find out one thing to show that the black person is less than a white person, but the Nazis never got that.
Yeah.
So there are many scores in Germany that were taken from Namibia, Africans, and they came and Nazi scientists were trying to prove something. You know, the idea of this white blue eyes race that the Nazis wanted to establish in Europe.
Yeah, yeah.
So
the pure race.
Exactly. So the race is a social construct which is false because we are all from one race. There's only one human race. There's no scientific data that shows that there are different races.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, like biologically.
Biologically, yes, exactly.
On the genes,
the chromosomes, yeah, that's
we come from the same mom.
Yeah, you know, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
but I guess that also when you were talking about this, came to my mind that during the colonization time, probably also the invention of race gave to people the right to mistreat other.
Yes.
Because just like as per se considering them less valuable.
Yes.
So it was an excuse to enslave people.
Yeah. So the concept of race, like I was saying, that it dehumanizes those other people that are racialized.
Yeah.
You know.
So then it's okay to use them, abuse them.
Yeah. And we continue to see that today, that it is okay for example, law enforcement to use more force when you're dealing with someone that you see that they are from a certain racial group, you know. But then if you are dealing with someone that you consider to be coming from a higher racial group, then they tend to treat them, they see their humanity, you know, because that's the most important thing, that when we talk about racism, I try to make people understand you're talking about human beings. You know, it's not about scientific data like boxes. You're talking about people. And that is the most important thing here that you have to look at, you know. Look at their humanity more, not that, oh, this is just something, but you're actually talking about what makes them who they are and how they experience living, you know.
Yeah, of course, because I guess that if you would go there and color yourself in blue, then you're still the same person, just colored on a different color.
Exactly. I'm glad, I'm happy you bring this statement up, because this is something that we try to talk about sometimes with people, that you can never change your racial group. You can never do that. You know, even if you go to whatever you want to, whatever extent you want to go with that, you can't. Even if I become a billionaire today, it doesn't change that some people they're always going to see me as who I am. And if I go to some places that people don't know that I have that billions, they'll still treat me like the ordinary black person on the street.
Yeah, they will have a stamp ready for you.
Exactly. That's the thing. So you cannot get out of it, you know, and you have to live with that or every day and the rest of your life. And that's why I think that this issue of racism should not be just something that we do once a week or once a month or once a year when there's the anti-racism day, those things. So it should be something that we try to make sure that there's equity every day, because I will not wake up tomorrow and say, okay, no, I'll go out as a white person.
Yeah,
no,
it doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way. I'm always in this reality.
Yeah. Now that you mentioned the fact of the violence or the way, for example, police force might react to different kind of races when they interact with different kind of races. This is something that it's interesting because most likely talking to a police force, someone from the police force, they admit that they are not racist, but then unconsciously they might act differently.
Yeah.
So there is. Do you see, and what is then the discourse, the discussion about this unrecognized racism? Because people might open their mouths and say that they are not racist, and they behave normally in a normal life as not racist.
Yeah.
But they might be triggered, and they might have unconsciously some sort of discrimination.
So this is something that when I always try to talk to people, it comes as a shocker to them that we are all capable of producing racism. You know, even me sitting here as a black person, because the point of racism is that you treat someone differently based on their skin color, how they look. So it is not something that belongs to only X, Y, Z person. We all can produce racism. That's why we all have to be aware when we are working, when we interact with people, when we do stuff, because it is not a problem for, we say, the Nazis or the far right or whatever. No, everybody can produce that, because that is the core thing. That's the foundation of this stuff.
And does that come from this kind of framework that we were used to somehow, we got it inside us? Because why can someone that lives his life normally as a not racist might end up having some racist behavior unconsciously or like unwillingly?
Yeah, those unconscious bias are always there,
Biases.
and yes, people can have them. But the point is that we continue to learn new things every day. We continue to educate ourselves and then change our opinions and views and way of life. So there's a difference with somebody who was not aware, and then when they got the information, then they learn and then they move on. You know, but when we talk about racism, for me, I like to focus more on the institutional racism. That is the one that is very dangerous to the society, that we don't want in any society.
Yeah.
And that is the one that prevents an entire group of people, you know, not just one person, from living their best life or achieving their full potential to even contribute to humanity in a way. You know, when you look, for example, let's talk about football. You have now Kylian Mbappe and many other great football stars that make football what it is. But, you know, because football, they have struggled to break down those barriers.
Yeah.
The institutional ones that could prevent people from playing. So you have talented people that are not reaching their full potential because of institutional, you know, racism. And that is the one that, for me, it really makes a difference, because if I go to search a job and somebody doesn't give me the job because of how I look or where I come from, that person doesn't only, you know, discriminate towards me, they also have that action alone have an impact also of my children, if I have children at home, because I'm supposed to go to work and bring food for them, and even the next generation, you know. And if I am trying to buy a house in an area and then I have the money to pay for the house, but then the people don't want to give me that house there because they think that I don't belong to, you know. Yeah, so those kind of things, that is the one. If you go to the bank to open an account and the bank doesn't want to give you the account because they think that, oh, this person, you know, that is the one that is very dangerous.
Mistrust
and mistrust in that sense. And in most cases, the ones when you approach law enforcement, you know, those ones are very dangerous as well. Those are institutional racism, like, because I think that I like to sometimes say, some people sometimes, of course, racism is a form of hate in a way, but you can hate me if you like. If that doesn't affect me in any way, I don't mind. You understand me?
Yeah.
But if you hate me and then you have the power to hold me down also in institution, that is where the problem comes, you know?
Yeah, because you are then stripped of all your rights.
Exactly, in that way. So if we have the society that works for everyone fairly, then those kind of things, you know, are not, you know, possible to exist. But unfortunately, things are not like that everywhere. And racism, I like to say that it's not only an issue in Finland, it's a global problem that we need to talk about it in that way. Yeah.
Let's pull a bit the handbrake on this, because I want to go deeper in this institutional racism. It's really interesting because also I also suffered of that. But I'm still really interested because you came to Finland and then you had to integrate yourself here in the society.
Yeah.
So I would like to know what is your experience that then from that you started the NGO
Anti-racism, yeah.
Yeah, the African Anti-Racism
Racism
Society.
yeah.
So there is a journey you went through,
Yeah.
and that brought you here until you and your association organizing parades and so take us through this journey, because it's interesting to see like how you actually felt, what were your experience, and how you suddenly decided to do something about it.
Yeah, I think that I want to really say something. It's like Finland is a very beautiful country. You know, just like if you go anywhere in the world also, they are very good people. And when I came to Finland, you know, I live in the north in Finland, in Rovaniemi, you know, they are very nice people. There is a nice place, you know, and I have lived in also Vaasa, you know, before moving to Helsinki. So there are many great, nice Finns who are probably very good people, and they have very warm heart for every person. But of course, there are also those people who doesn't like people who doesn't look a certain way in Finland. So yeah, living here when I came, of course, I have to say that when I was in Africa, I never knew I was black.
I'm sorry if I laugh.
Yeah, no, this is true.
That's the paradigm that like you felt at home.
So only when you came to Europe, all of a sudden, there's nothing more about you that is more important. It's the fact that you are black, you're a black person, you know, and that was the first shock to me. Like, wait a minute, you know,
is there something wrong?
Yeah, is there something wrong? What is this? You know, because living in Africa, you know, it was just normal. You could go by your day and do your things and so forth, you know. But then when you move to Finland, you realize that, okay, I went to a restaurant to eat and everyone is looking at me. I was like, you know,
yeah, what's wrong with
what is wrong here? You know, like what is going on in that kind of certain way? Like everywhere you go, you are like kind of stand out in the crowd, you know.
Yeah,
so
like you would have some kind of a sign, like
exactly, like
look at me.
That's true, you know. So it is in a way I would say it is the same thing that, you know, when Europeans go to Africa as well, you know, they stand out and kids follow them, people want to talk to them, to touch them, touch their hair and this kind of things. Of course, I had all those experiences as well. You know, traveling to places, I have my afro always and people want to touch my hair, you know, oh, your hair is like sheep hair, like, you know. Like
that's not like a compliment.
It's not exactly, you know. So all those things were a bit, you know. It was funny for me to see how naive people are, how some of them are very ignorant. I was thinking, like, you haven't seen a black person in 2010, 2011, 2012, you know. So I was a bit surprised with the level of ignorance that I met in Finland. I would say that with not everyone, but with some people in a way. And I remember there were times that, you know, people would ask me like, oh yeah, you're from Cameroon, yeah, football, Roger Milla, you know. The only thing they could remember about where I came from, you know, where I'm coming from, is the football. And then they would say, oh yeah, but you have the Cameroon Lions. Oh, do you have, you know, you live with lions, where do you live? You know, it was very funny, you know, that they think, I was like, wait.
They picture you were some sort of aboriginal.
Exactly, I'm like, no, I come from a city like Helsinki, you know, and I have never seen a lion actually in my life. The first time I saw a lion was in a zoo in Finland. You know, and if I tell that to a Finnish person, it's hard for them to believe. You know, so like,
but that's funny because I'm from Italy, and every time I get the same.
Yeah.
Football, pasta, pizza, you know, so maybe there is some sort of like this way of approaching that it's more correlated to not so developed skill of interaction and social interaction with people. But of course you felt it, of course you felt the gaze of everyone looking at you, so it felt personal.
It does. It felt personal, and you kind of felt small every time, everywhere you go. You don't want to be seen because you feel like there's this lamp on you, there's a spotlight on you every time. You just want to hide every time you go to any place, you know. So, you know, but I have never personally experienced like some people have had very bad experiences in Finland with racism, that they have been in a bus or sitting in a bar. People have been beaten in a bar in Seinäjoki and different places and those stuff, you know. So I have never really had that kind of encounter myself, you know, in Finland. But then, of course, institutional racism, of course, applying for apartments, it is not easy to get a new apartment if your names are certain names in certain areas. So those ones I have, of course, experienced those things. It takes very long time to find an apartment to live in. And, you know, so those ones I have. So, but personally for me, it was just more about, you know, seeing what is going on with other people and, you know, hearing the stories decided, okay, maybe perhaps one could do something. Then, it was only until 2020, that we have the global Black Lives Matter protest in Helsinki as well. Then we decided to form this African Anti-Racism Society to continue this work, because we felt that, of course, there are many anti-racism organizations in Finland, but we felt we want to have something that is only, led by African people, like African people of African descent who live in Finland, first or second generation, or people with link of Africa, we can say so. So that's why we decided to start this work that we are doing.
Yeah. So meaning that you felt that this the racism of people, but also you felt the institutional racism, and that gave you the input and the need to do something, to act.
Yeah.
That's really noble, and I think that I know that you're doing a great job. And you, at that time when there was the Black Lives Matter, the Floyd incident, well, it's not an incident, it is brutality.
Yeah.
Then you decided to organize the protest.
Yeah.
And you gathered with people, and you decided then to fund and create the association.
Yeah.
How has the association been doing from that time until now?
Yeah, I think this association was founded by some of us, young Black Africans and people of African descent in Finland. We had energy, and of course we have also our jobs, and perhaps also we feel so much for this because we think about the future, because maybe for some older people who are Black in Finland, they just think that, okay, if they are in their 60s or 50s, but for us, we think because I have people in our team who are in their 20s, they are thinking about their future here. They have 60 more years to work.
And next generation.
So we had a lot of energy to go in, and we started very strongly organizing this protest, and we continue to go and to work. And we have received a lot of support from the Finnish society community in Helsinki, in Uusimaa, and also even far away in the northern part of Finland. And we have seen, I can say, Clay, that within 2 years, there have been a lot of, because before in Finland, what I noticed that the issue of racism and race was almost like a taboo topic to discuss in Finland, because if you look at the Finnish language also, the word race itself, this root is like a word you use to talk about breeds of dogs or animals. So even with the Finnish language, when you talk about race, it's not comfortable in a way. So, but within these years, I can say within the times I have lived in Finland, we have now moved slowly, make some progress to come to the place where now we can now have this discussion on a table like you and I are having here, and also in other platforms that people can talk about this racism, not to deny that it doesn't exist.
That's absolutely perfect, because it's knowledge brings then changes.
Progress, exactly. So, because before there was this thinking of this Finnish exceptionalism, that Finland is this Scandinavian country that is so pro-human rights, pro-equality. Racism doesn't exist here, it is only in America or in the UK. We didn't go to colonize you in Africa, so we have nothing of this. So that Scandinavian or Finnish exception, we're exceptional here in Finland, so it doesn't. So we have passed that now, and we are now in the place where we are talking about it, and also we have the resources, because I spoke with one elderly person today who is with the foreign scholars in Finland. He says when we were here in Finland in the 70s, it was not even allowed for foreigners to form an organization.
Really?
Yeah. And this is an American man who is living, a white American man, and he would say, the government have to give them a special permission to have an organization in Finland back then in the 70s. But now we can do. We can do those things. Things have moved on, so there are those progress that is that we have seen. So AFAS has been working very hard and trying. We have been mainly most also on the social media. Organizing demonstrations, and then we have done some seminars, and we have also taught some workshops recently that we are doing as well. So,
were you able to breach and were you able to enter, maybe not politics, but to have discussion with people that are actually then forming the structure for the society, and they are in power to make changes? Were you able?
Yeah, so far we are quite a young organization, And I want to say that before we started this work in Finland, there have been also, and there are also many other long old organizations that are doing this work, and many people that we are very grateful for them, and even Finnish people as well, Finnish scholars, academic people as well, and different NGOs as well. So it's not only us, AFAS, there are many others who are doing this work. So yeah, we have been able to talk to, important people and send our message through. And recently, when you look about the government that we have now, the racism in the Finnish, the recent government that we have been able to target them with our message on social media and write to them and call them out and those things. Those things are quite like powerful, because that is activism you do, you draw the attention to those things and draw the public attention to that. And we have seen that, when we call these protests and these demonstrations, the turnout is massive. People come out and, like we had the last demo that was here that we are talking about over 15,000 people, so it's the biggest we have seen, so. And
but thank God we had that.
Yeah, gratefully we have that, and that is the best way how you show solidarity, and that shows a lot of change in the mindset of people and Finnish society in general. And that is a good thing, because the people are the ones who are actually going to go into the institutions, maybe the police, doctor, government, school teachers, farmers, shopkeepers, security. Those are, if their minds, their opinions are changing, then they go to their fields of work.
And they spread and the same.
Yeah, exactly. And then they do things differently in that way. So that is why our target is to educate, advocate, and take action against, racism in Finland. Yeah. So education is a very, very important, vital part when you talk about anti-racism work. You need to educate, put the knowledge out there.
Also because in that demonstration is not a protest.
Yeah.
Well, of course you were protesting against the government rules. And we can then go to that in more details. But the participants were of all races and colors.
Yes.
So it's definitely something that belongs, and it's close to to many people living here in Finland.
Yeah.
But I don't know, well, maybe you are also aware that, for example, if you talk about True Finns, these perussuomalaiset, already when they started to grow and they came to be something meaningful for the government, unfortunately, they had won with Soini the elections, and there were statistics about from which places of Finland, which areas they got more votes, and they got votes from places where actually there were the less different race people. So we are now targeting, and you are targeting, of course, on social media, but the Uusimaa, the great city, the large city of Helsinki.
Yeah.
And here people are international. They get acquainted to different kind of people, but there is still a lot of, you are talking about knowledge and educating. There is, the message unfortunately doesn't go to certain more
small villages.
Yes, I will not call them rural areas, but there is more this kind of like fear mentality.
Yeah.
Fear of the difference.
Yeah. I think what you are saying is true, and the funny part of this thing is that the perussuomalaiset political party that runs their election campaigns always about immigration and immigrants, the fear of immigrants.
Yeah.
It is funny because those cities that these people get elected have perhaps no immigrants, or one or two. So what are you afraid of when you haven't even seen?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was exactly
if we're in Helsinki and then the people are doing that, we can say, oh yeah, because they're immigrants. Yeah, but I don't understand when you are doing that in some small village in Kuopio, where there's no immigrants. So what is it that you are talking about? So that's the thing. And we get that point, and that's why we are saying that we are now, today we live in the, the Android generation, I would say the social media generation, where there's TikTok and there's Instagram, there's all those things. So messages go very far. And I would say personally, in AFAS, we believe in targeting the young and the next generation, because those are the ones that are the future, that we can really impact them. And when we look at these things in a very rational way, we can say, for example, I'll make an example here. My country, where I come from, when did they get independence? 1960 from the British. My mom was living in my country when it was occupied by the British.
Yeah.
It's not long ago.
No, not at all.
You understand what I mean?
One generation ago.
Yes, not generation ago. It's not that far. So we still have the same thing in Finland, that there are probably people who are in Finland or in Europe who were living in a time where it was okay to say this person is less than a human. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
So
understand.
to change their mind is not an easy thing. But the younger ones today who are growing up to the world that is so connected, there is the future. And that is what we are trying to do, to reach out to the young people and educate them. Because if they also take this message to their home, to their summer cottage in summer when they have meetings with their uncles and relatives, and somebody is saying some racist thing, they can say to him like, hey, uncle, this is,
don't you see that?
this is not even nice again,
But that's I think it's smart, because it's much more difficult to go around to change someone's head and go around it and trying to re-educate from
No,
zero.
it is hard, because when I use the example of my mom, the way my mom sees our country is very different from me, and the way she sees the world. Because it is interesting when I have this conversation with her, because it is like they have this kind of loyalty to the British.
Yeah, regardless.
That regard, no matter what happened. But then to us now, we are like, what? These people came here, stole everything, took everything for themselves, and how come you people still see them somehow like they helped you? You know what I mean?
They were, of course, they were kind of brainwashed.
They were brainwashed by that.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So it's the thing that there's a generational gap in that thing. So, and also in Finland, I think that exists in every society. Even if you go to Italy, Spain, anywhere, there are those. It's not too long ago we have the maybe soon 80-something years, how long we had the last war, the D-Day, so, and there are some people who are alive who witnessed that.
Yeah,
that the Nazism and stuff, that the Nazis, the people who lived in those, if you go around the world, they are there, so.
they're still living.
They are still living.
I understand, because you have seen with your eyes that one generation change, it's enough to make a step forward.
Yeah, to make it, yeah.
So it's a bright view, because I also feel that the youngest are nowadays, because they are exposed more to an international world. They have all the social media channels. So of course they see reality and they see the world from different point of view. Yeah. So it is like ripe ground to grow correctly and with the right thoughts.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, that's true.
If we now talk about the institutional racism that you were talking about, and we try to go a bit deeper, because I also myself have experienced the same, and I can tell from my side that even if I don't have, if we talk about, for example, job application, no one can see your color, but they can see the name, and the name is not Finnish name. So of course I experienced the same kind of segregation. I was separated or treated
differently
since the beginning. It's differently until the actual point in which, of course, there is always this kind of like, well, in job application you never know what is the reason, but not so far ago I had to take a loan and ask for a loan, and with my ex-spouse, and so I know perfectly her salary and my salary, identical. We have the same children, 3. We come from the same, like we are separating from the same household. We have the same saving. We have the same managerial position. So everything is equal. The difference are 2. She's a woman and I'm a man.
Yeah.
And then she is pure Finnish and I am, technically I'm Finnish citizen, but my name, I am Italian.
Yeah.
So I got a different loan for less and more expensive loan. And at that point, I thought like, okay, so the bank is thinking that I am more risky.
Yes. Yeah.
And like that I felt like, why? This is wrong. And of course, then I wrote a message saying like, hey, I know what you've offered. Why you're not offering the same? And they, of course, immediately then matched the offer.
Yeah.
But no one, of course, came forward saying like, oh, we think you are more of a liability.
Yeah, yeah.
But that institutional racism.
Yeah. I think that like we are saying that we live in a society or in a world that is racially stratified. And what does that mean? That means that there are certain places or groups that people are put based on their race, this fake concept of race. So even the fact that you are a white Italian man, the Finnish society still puts you in that group of, this is European, Italian, that's the thing. So you're European and you're white. They still put you in there on a certain category. You know, someone from Russia, they put them in another category.
True.
An American, a Canadian, they put them. A Ghanaian person, they put them in a different category. Japanese. So we have, this is how the world is. This is why I'm talking about the danger in the concept of race. That particular concept.
Yeah, it's
we're talking.
multi-stratified.
Multi-stratified, yeah. So definitely put everybody, like the Roma people as well in Finland. They suffer from this institutional racism as well because they are divided, you know, they are not treated as anyone else. But this is the thing that we say that, yeah, this is the thing. And that's why I think I like solidarity with everyone to fight this element of this thing called racism, because it is not good for anybody. And by doing that, I like when, for example, a white person understands that they also have privilege, you know, because you understand that you also have privilege. When it comes to certain things, they'll prefer you than someone else, you know. And even me, myself, sometimes when I'm looking at these things and when I talk about these issues, I look at the situations that Black, Muslim, Somali women go through. It's worse than mine.
Yeah.
You know, because they have different levels of that.
Yeah.
They are Black, they are Muslim, you know.
You're right.
And then the last again, they are woman.
Yeah.
You know, so I see my own privilege. So, okay, I'm a Black man. Even on that list, I am somewhere
but still in a different
category in that way. So, and this is what I always say to people: like, we shouldn't be fighting ourselves. Like sometimes, oh, why you talk? Everybody faces racism. Yeah, we do, but let's understand this: that we face this racism at different levels and different, you know, intensity, and in a way, in that sense. So perhaps that should be the conversation. Like, okay, yeah, but now, how can we work together now against this thing? Because we all, you know, face it. But sometimes it's also sad that also Black people like, oh yeah, we are the only ones who are suffering from racism. Everyone else is. No, like you said, even you can face that in Finland. Roma person can face that in Finland. Russian can face that in Finland. American can face that in Finland. Sure. White persons. Sure. Because the society is stratified in a way that, you know, the natives will always be like.
Yeah. My different name is kind of like grade 1 of racism. And
exactly.
Then you go deeper in some.
Exactly. That's the thing. So in that sense.
One friend of mine was I was talking about this topic and she was pointing out to me that like I have privileges. And it made me think. I never thought it in that way, because anyway, my experience in Finland, it's also the kind that I've been treated differently in many cases.
Definitely.
Work also from colleagues in a certain level of my career at the beginning. So working more like hands job. So I was anyway said many times to go and fuck off.
Yeah.
And just because like I am different or I'm not Finnish. And so at different moment in my life, I felt and I suffer. Maybe it's a too strong of a word, but I've experienced such things. So I never felt that I have any privilege.
Yeah.
And then when I start thinking, and this person helped me a bit reformulate my thinking, I almost felt like guilty. It's kind of like, why do I have to be treated differently, or why do I have something more than what you would have?
Yeah.
Just like as a given, and it was a difficult moment, because I thought like, how should I be ashamed of like just being white and I speak Finnish? You know, I can almost like hide in.
You can always hide. Yeah.
And should I feel like ashamed that I am like this? But now also did that I'm doing this podcast, it's because at the beginning I thought like, okay, my kids that I have, they have my surname, they are definitely different than Finns. Yeah. And I thought the same, like I don't want anyone, them or others, to suffer the same kind of consequences.
The same consequences, yeah.
So on a certain way we are against institutional racism. The same.
Definitely. Definitely, that's true. And I always say this to white people. There's no need for you to be ashamed or feel guilty of anything. You haven't done anything.
Exactly. I was born in these clothes.
Exactly. We were born in these clothes, like you said. Yeah. We all, but now it is just our responsibility to try to make that change. You know, you don't owe anybody any apology or any, what can I say, for nothing.
Feel ashamed.
Feel ashamed for nothing. No, but it is good that you acknowledge your own privilege that you have, being a white Italian male, because I can say also that your privilege can be different from a white Italian woman in Finland. Just the fact that they are a woman and you are male, so it's different. Then you go into all those different things, because one of the things with racism and institutional racism is that it's not only limited to the skin color, it's also fear of the culture where this person comes from. You know, oh,
and
this,
religion. Then
and
there is also.
then there's a fear of religion as well. Oh, this person, can I, can I trust them? Where they come from? All this kind of stereotypes that is not correct.
Yeah.
Because we have different cultures, yes, but we can always learn how things are done in other places and also respect the culture of another person. Because I remember back in the day when I was in Vasa, I was working in a restaurant. We have one nice, sweetest guy I ever have met, Marco from Italy. Excellent chef. Was making food, and one day in the dinner, he was like, okay, things are done in the kitchen. He comes in front, just trying to help us to get things done. And some people came to eat, and he was just lifting the chairs for the women to sit down and to take the jacket. The reaction was bizarre, for the people. Like, they were so angry, like, why you lift the chair for me? Like, I can sit by myself,
Wow.
And then for me, I was shocked because I come from a francophone country. So there's this French that it's normal to take the seat for customer to sit in your restaurant.
It's polite.
It's polite, but I have learned that in Finland, you don't do that because people would think that you are trying to do something else. So Marco couldn't understand that many times that it happens to him.
It was a cultural
clash. And these are the things, like, it's something as simple as that the guy is just being nice to you, to welcome you properly. Like, hey, welcome, and give me your jacket, I put it there. That's the thing. And some people understood it and they liked it, but some people hated it, you know. So this is this kind of thing that we are talking about.
It's funny because I have a similar example. One of my Italian friends, she's a woman, and her friend, a woman, another but Finnish, she's a feminist. Just to say that, like, she stands for and believes in. And this Italian friend of mine, she was telling me that she needed help to put a shelf on the wall. So she put in Facebook one kind of like note, is there someone that can come and help me? And then one guy, a friend of her, came to her home and put the shelf, but they had dinner together and they went dancing. Nice night. And then when this Italian lady told this story to the Finnish feminist woman, she was saying, like, you wasted all this feminist work that we are doing. You don't need men to do all this. And we were laughing because, like, this Italian friend of mine had a beautiful night evening. With spending with someone and enjoying.
Exactly.
Rather than just like keep on some kind of stereotype.
Exactly. Because it's like, it's a cultural thing. It's something that also where I come from, any lady would do. They will not think twice that it is against feminism or against women or against equality. It's just, I don't know how I can explain.
It's just nice to have company also.
Exactly. So those things, and that is what this concept of race does. It's not only limited to the skin culture, it's related to the culture of the person, religion of the person, what they eat, all those kind of things that doesn't really mean anything. People can learn new ones, and also we can appreciate that because, all of a sudden we like pizza, it's from Italy, but then, we don't like other things that are, you know what I mean? That people can choose.
Kind of selection.
Yeah, they select what they want to take from that place.
True. True.
Cameroon football, let's talk about Cameroon. We like that,
Yeah, but the rest.
No, that's the thing. So it is a bit funny in a way, and this is the thing that I'm glad now with this, because all these things also are not possible if people don't hide the truth, because history that we have today in school, what people were taught in school, even when I was in school, we were taught completely wrong history, that the Europeans came to help people here and to do stuff without them, and those are history that were written by the same people who came to enslave Africa.
Sure.
And today
the same narrative.
So today now we are changing that narrative, and this is why also when I came to Finland, this is back to the question we're starting from the beginning, I saw that people have a certain view of me. They thought that I couldn't read and write. When I was explaining to my Finnish friend why there is ice on the water and then the water is not frozen all above, like it's just frozen there, I was telling him the physics. He was so shocked that I knew that. I did physics and chemistry in school. Like, I went to high school, I did the same things you study here, the periodic table for chemistry and every stuff, physics. Like, so he was so surprised,
because they can come from you.
Yeah, they can come from, because what they learned in school, what they were taught in Finland as well, is that they still have this kind of like, when you look at Finnish media today or Western media, they still have this kind of 1920 image of Africa.
Stop there. It's frozen in time.
It's frozen in time. They haven't moved forward. Like today Africa is the fastest growing economy. There are, a lot of entrepreneurs, business people. Africa is growing up, things are moving up. Of course, there are still struggles that Africa still have today.
Of course.
But things have changed a lot. Things, people are like having podcasts like me and you now in
Of
Africa.
course.
They are doing stuff.
They are making money also.
They're making money, and when you look like when the war in Ukraine started, when the journalists were saying that, oh, these are people who have Instagram account and Netflix account, then people were like, wait, do you mean that the people from Iraq and Syria didn't have Instagram or they didn't have Netflix? Or that kind of thinking that people can think that some people from a certain
And then the other tragic thing is that people normally say Africa and they say Africa, but Africa is huge, and 54
countries,
states, countries, and also, am I right? When we see the map of the world, also like the size and the proportion of the countries are different because they are European centric.
Yeah.
And the size of Africa, like the length, it's like
the map. Africa is the biggest continent, but you don't see that on the map how it shows. So everything was constructed to keep that narrative, and that is the thing that when also you come to Finland, of course, what does the average Finnish person know about Africa? Poverty, hunger, disease, war. So, and when they see that, they see me as well. When they see me,
they mistrust you immediately.
They mistrust me immediately. And I have my friends who are like doing very great job in Finland here. They are doing coding and stuff. They came from, Africa to study in Aalto University. Like they finished top in their class, but when they are working, their bosses are shocked that black people are coding also. So, the guys like, seriously, like what do you think?
Yeah.
So
it's so intrinsic. It's so inside.
Yeah, it's so inside. If people's head that they are, thinking that. So those things are like. This is why now I think that the younger generation, the future ones,
they are more open to that.
These truths are now out. They know this things is not anymore. These things now, there's clear information, more accurate information out there for people to look at, to read about any country, any place, any time. So people can find out those things for themselves, and then they know what is truth and in this time. So, but before I would say that there have been a lot of lies globally in history and every stuff. But now all those things are open for everyone to see and to know. And that is why also, if you look recently, there is this kind of geopolitical situation that is changing in Africa, that Western countries like France, for example, is losing a lot of control in Africa because the Africans themselves now have realized that, like in Niger, we have all this uranium here. You take them all and you light off the Eiffel Tower in Paris, but we don't have electricity. Like 90% of the people in the country don't have electricity. And their mineral is light in France, So those kind of things now people are looking at, and this is why now it's not like business as usual anymore, And I really believe, I must say this, on the next future generation. I believe that in our lifetime, we are going to see a lot of positive change.
Big changes.
With all rights, gender equality, human rights, and all those things. And, the world is going to be in a more better shape than before.
Oh, it's great that you have this kind of view, because that's exactly the spirit that we have to have.
Yeah, definitely.
We have to believe that this will happen if we want to make the change.
Yeah.
But I think you're right, because also when I see, I have 3 small kids, as I said, but they're going, only one is at school, but you see anyway that in school there are all different type of people already, colors and races. And it's something for sure that like a couple of generations ago wasn't like this.
No, it wasn't.
So now the new generation is exposed and growing already, like accepting as it is that like my friend Pekka actually is a different color, but is still like is equal as me.
Exactly.
And is still as Finnish as me. And we are just like getting along as it should be. There is no anything behind it, because actually other thing that I've been facing or seeing is that people have they mistrust certain colors or certain races. But then when you ask, they start saying, but I know I have a couple of friends that they are from here, from there, but they are okay. But then the others, they are not. So even in their own thinking, it's kind of like there is a bug. Because
definitely,
so it's kind of like, why should you apply this kind of template on the others once you already have experience on your skin that actually this is. I think what you are saying is definitely true, that people they're afraid of the unknown, and like I said, we are all capable of producing injustice and inequality and racism, every single human being. I really want people to understand this, So
like you mentioned about your kids, I would say that definitely their experience is going to be way better than yours, than ours. Because, for example, when I was back home in my country in school, when I went to primary school, secondary school, to university, I wasn't in a class with any person who is not like me, you know. So when I moved to Finland, I studied with different culture, different people, and, you know, from different continent. You know, so if I would have a family in Finland, definitely my kids will have a very different experience of life than my own. And also now we have a lot of possibility to travel. Today we can be in 2 continents, right? Yeah. We can fly take a short flight quickly, you know, and so people travel, they go to see things, they experience stuff and this thing, so it creates that more connection of the world and mobility, exactly. And then knowledge also, and then business also nowadays is taking people to places, because now we are seeing that you produce this product in Finland, but the market is in India, or the market is in Asia or in Africa, you know.
Sure.
You have to go there and do those things. So and then this person also is producing that product there in Asia. The market is here in Finland. Yeah. So those things. So the world is definitely going to be a very different place. And I think that above all, the truth, the knowledge, because knowledge is power. That's the thing. Knowledge is power.
Yeah.
And if you look out throughout history, throughout humanity, every time that there have been some really bad situation for the human race, it has been done through knowledge. They use knowledge, maybe religion to you know, frame people to think in a certain way. What the Nazis did, that use knowledge, you know,
it's true.
to shape the ideology and everyone. So, and now we have this new society, and that's why we need to really. And I'm glad what you're doing to instill this knowledge and truth to your children, so they continue this, and you know, and this is for me the best way to go about is to make the world a better place. You know, this knowledge, giving this knowledge to truth, and teaching these things to people.
Do you know that there is a biological base foundation for the reason why we are all, you were saying that we are all capable of some sort of racism? Because anyway, if we believe that from Darwin theory we come from monkeys and we've been developed, we come anyway from a social structure that we were used to be like small groups, and outsiders, they were a threat. So outsiders would come and destroy the camp or take away the resources. So I've heard this kind of argument that like we are biologically created, or we are used to be so afraid of the unknown people because we perceive them as a threat, because there's some kind of a lost old memory.
I think I don't know about those theories what you are saying, but I think that it's kind of like human nature.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, to be afraid of something you don't know somehow. Yeah. But that doesn't mean that you have to
act on it. Yeah, of course, exactly. No, because now we have this front cortex, we have brain, and we know how to behave. Absolutely. Yeah. But that's also kind of like maybe to yourself, to myself, if I feel that something is a threat, unknown is a threat, I rather think in myself that I am biologically wired like this, but I don't have a racist soul.
And I want to also say that, you know, not all forms of discrimination is racism in a way. So, and because racism is only when you act specifically, you treat someone specifically based on their race or their culture or where they come from. And because if someone is a security guard, for example, and then they see me walking in the shop, and for some reason they think that they have to go around the shop, like what many black people face in Finland, that the security is following you. Yeah. And then in that same shop, someone who is white can walk in, pick something and run out. I have seen that in the little in the central station.
Yeah.
White dudes come in the shop, they grab a pack of beers, they run out. They catch up, people didn't even follow them. They just
looked at, Yeah.
But then I have seen other cases where a kid who is not white just confused in a shop. There's two stories in the shop, like, so he went in the first floor, went up, picked something, put it in his pocket. He's coming down to pay, but there's also another cashier on the first one.
Yeah.
They caught him from upstairs when the kid was coming down, a 13-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Like, he's coming down to pay because he didn't know. Yes, he's not even out of the shop.
Yeah.
You know, but the security guard have seen that on camera and came down and caught that kid and took him to their room behind there, called the police, called child protection to come and all those things. Yeah. And the kid was like, I was coming downstairs to pay. There's also casa down.
Yeah.
You see those kind of things. So, and also there are many studies that have been made to show this kind of, this kind of
Difference in
treatment that people do based on just how someone look. And that is the thing that is it's not professional. Oh, it doesn't make you professional. It doesn't.
No, and I think that the people that work in this kind of role should be screened for, or at least should have the knowledge.
Because you miss the right people you're supposed to look after.
Exactly.
And you waste your energy. You fail at your job, definitely, in that sense. So, and those things. So it is like it is like trying to, and of course that's what we're saying. It's like trying to predetermine how someone is going to react based on their skin color, where they come from, how they're going to behave. And we shouldn't do that. We should not have any reason to mistrust any person unless that person gives us a reason to mistrust.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you treat me bad, yes.
Wrong is wrong.
Wrong is wrong. If you do that, definitely you don't have my trust again. But if somebody have not done anything to you, you know, and then they are a threat to you, then that is wrong. Because they haven't done anything. They haven't said anything to you. They haven't done anything to anyone. They shouldn't be perceived as a threat or as a danger. When you do that, then that is racism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you have been organizing and you were active in the protest now. What are the main critique against the government nowadays and the changes that they've been doing in immigration rules? What is your critique, and how do you see that still they actually tighten the institutional racism rather than make it disappear?
I think that when you look at what the government recently came out with, that their anti-racism plan, one of the things that they were so happy about is that, now in Finland it is illegal to make anti-Semitic stuff. But this thing is illegal globally.
Yeah.
Right? It is illegal globally to you know what I mean? So it's not a new thing. And of course that is something good. But again, black and brown people are thinking that, is that really the racism we are talking about here? Because
it seems
narcissism
more like
is something. It's a political thing, because everybody, we know we are all against narcissism. We are all against fascism, those things. So they instead went and did that we as a government, we are against narcissism and fascism, but that is not the thing. We are talking about racism, which is another thing. So the thing that many people are thinking about, because many studies have been done in Finland, and it's showing that, and even when the government few days ago talked about their budget, they said that the Finnish aging population has affected their budget a lot. The aging, so people are aging. So even the government is aware of that. And every study is showing that Finland needs more labor force in future because they don't have. And then how come you as a government, you are thinking that it's a good thing to say, okay, hey, we are going to tighten immigration policies in the way
that make it more difficult.
Making it more difficult for people to come, because Finland needs to be attractive. Every country needs to be attractive for people to move to the country. And one of the things that for people is very important is to have this safety, this security that you are going to stay. But if I'm always worried all the time, if I'm going to stay here or not,
or they kick you,
they kick you out, it's too much of a pressure. At least you are a European person who lives in Finland. You know a little bit of what that is. Not even so much, but because for you can always go home. Yeah, you can.
Yes, and they cannot throw me away.
They cannot throw you away, exactly. So that is the bit. Just being an immigrant in another country. I'm just saying, I think you have a little bit of that experience. Not the same thing, but you know what that is in very little way. But so that fear of, what is the future? Am I going to be here tomorrow? Am I going to be here, if I lose my job?
And especially if you have a family with you or kids, or if you are responsible of other. Maybe you don't have kids, but you have grandparents sick with you or whatever.
Definitely.
So of course there is extra.
There's extra, weight. There's extra weight, that people think, that mental pressure that they're thinking. So the main thing for the government that we are looking at, we're saying that, hey, this is actually not even realistic. You cannot say that if somebody loses their job and in 3 months, if they don't find another job, they are liable to be deported, That is really harsh. It's too harsh. People need a bit, maybe more than 3 months to find a new job. And also you are now going to increase and give companies a free right to give temporary contract to people as much as they like, And that is only going to mean one thing. The most people who get this kind of part-time jobs in Finland are immigrants.
Yeah. So they're squeezed from both sides.
From both sides, you know.
Yeah.
So we give you part-time jobs, and then on this other side, if you lose your job, you are going out as fast as possible. So we are trying to take the immigrants now as just a labor market to like robots. You just need to work and work, bleed, pay tax and give money here. But then we as a state, you know, we don't want to support you in any way. If you need any Finnish language or whatever, all those things.
This was our thinking, because like, what is the support? Should rather the institution should give support.
Supposed to.
There is talking about the integration, that
Yeah.
they should be integrated.
Yeah.
And it's such a like vague word.
Is it?
Like,
Yeah.
what does it mean? And should you help them
Yeah.
to integrate, or speak the language and courses
Exactly.
targeted to
Yeah.
certain?
Yeah, exactly. So, and this is the thing that we are saying also, this propaganda that is sometimes in the Finnish media and politicians, that, oh, immigrants come here and they take free money and they take free things and stuff. I always say this myself. I'm an immigrant living in Finland when I came here. And I never received any free money from Kela, because I was not even eligible to take any money from Kela. I lived in Finland for many years. I was paying my own rent. I had every money that I was doing, everything for myself. The only time I even get a part-time Kela card was when I was working full-time, that I got a Kela card that I can even go to hospital if I'm sick. That was the only time. You know, so I don't really know this narrative that immigrants come here and they go right away.
Yeah, robbing.
They're robbing. It's
Doesn't
a
make
lie.
sense.
It doesn't happen. You only get support from Kela when you are working full-time in Finland. That is the only...
So you are contributing.
You're contributing, yeah, exactly. That's the only time you can get any support. So when you are saying that somebody can get that support without contributing, it doesn't make sense, because it's a lie. It doesn't happen. So, yeah, I know that, you know, there are those things, and people are saying, but usually society, the government is supposed to help people, you know, because when you talk about the integration, for some people, is maybe they're talking about extreme assimilation to become something else. Because if I use myself, for example, I never went to Finnish language class that was paid for by the Finnish government. I paid for all my Finnish language classes that I went to. People need to also know there are different groups of immigrants in Finland. You know, not everyone who comes to Finland is a refugee.
Yeah,
some people
true.
came to just study, many of us. And when you come here to study or to do any other thing, you are on your own. You have your own health insurance. I had my own medical insurance for many years.
Yeah.
You know, and everything by yourself. It is like that for students.
Yeah,
you know?
you're not sucking resources from,
No, you are
the
not.
government.
You are instead coming here paying for rent, that the house you are staying is for Finnish business. You are buying food in the shop, that is Finnish shops you are spending your money on.
Yeah, money circulates.
Money circulates. You are giving money out. You are not sucking money from the government. So, and if you're a student, you want to study Finnish, you learn your Finnish yourself. I paid my money every summer to learn Finnish when it was back in the day in Arbis. And I even finished some of my courses in Omia in Espoo here in Finland, paid by my own money.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't understand this narrative that, you know, people come and suck in money, and it shouldn't be that way. And I think the only one thing that I'm really grateful that I get support is that when I decided, because you cannot study the language and work full time. You know, so I had to do part-time work and study the language. And that is when I got support from the TE-toimisto. And that was needed for me to really go back, because I cannot work in the social field, in child protection, without proper language.
Yeah.
You know, and immediately I was good in my language. You know, I was very easily, you know, getting employed and working and going from today. Yeah. If I didn't really study the language, I would not have been able to use the education that I achieved in Finland.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And this is the basic thing we are saying, that you cannot just expect people to...
Yeah, there should be support.
There should be supported, yeah.
The language thing is something that bothers me, because like I speak well.
Yeah.
And I do my daily job in Finnish.
Yeah.
And so I have a good level, but still, even me knowing the language has never been helped. That didn't never help me finding a job. So this fact that, for example, there is a requirement of learning the language in these kind of rules.
Yeah.
It is like a fake glass door, because you think that like you can access then after that something, or that you can be employed, but that's actually not true.
Yeah. In most cases, it's not true. And in other cases also, there's a learn the language, and then you learn the language, you speak the language, your language is not enough.
Yeah, exactly. So this seems that the government is putting just rules to name, to think, to show that they are doing something, but actually it doesn't change the society or doesn't change actually the main problem, that it's the attitude towards the unknown or towards people that,
Exactly.
that have a different name.
Exactly, that is the thing, and you know, this thing is just the immigrant or the migrant community are just being a scapegoat of the government now, you know. So, and again, this is politics because you know the governments or any government is always afraid of people who can vote. So if you have a group of people in your country who doesn't have voting rights, you can treat them anyhow you want because they cannot react to that.
Yeah.
You know, but if they cannot do that to people that can vote, you know, and these people cannot vote not because of anything, but just because they are perhaps maybe not Finnish citizens and they don't have the right to vote in important elections. Of course, they can vote in the parliamentary and in the council elections, which are like, you know, not so powerful, you know, in a way.
Yeah.
But the powerful elections, like the parliamentary election, that is where laws are made and that is where futures are being decided.
Exactly, yeah.
And that is where most of those immigrants
Don't have access to.
they don't have access to, and that is why the politicians really can treat them anyhow they like, because politicians listen to those who vote. If you cannot vote, they wouldn't mind you so much, and it's just all about politics and not really anything reasonable. Because the Perussuomalaiset said, for example, that their agenda is anti-immigration.
Yeah.
You know, so at least if they go in a government, they must get something to please their own people. You know.
Yeah, and they were accused by other parties of racism. So
Yeah, yeah,
actually, it's not even me and you telling this. It's,
Yeah, definitely.
And then also what politics is in this kind, in my idea, dirty. That also the parties, they once elected, they changed their narrative just to form coalition
Yeah.
and to have a group, because that's what happened to the Orpo and to the right.
Yeah.
When they had to integrate the Perussuomalaiset
Yeah, yeah.
inside. So they started to become actually more strict.
Yeah, yeah.
And they were the first saying that, like, we need more people because we need to grow the economy. So we need anyway people and experience to come in.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they tighten actually.
Tighten actually. So you are saying something, you are doing the opposite of
Yes,
that.
because then the enemy before it's becoming your best friend suddenly.
Exactly. So that's the thing. And this is like with many other things, you know, in Finland, and the discussion of racism in Finland sometimes is that when always there's election in Finland, and this is something that I think also the Finnish media, I'm happy that, you know, someone like you start something like this and you're doing it and you should continue, because this narrative against immigrants, it always gets so much in the media during elections.
Sure.
It goes up, right up, and right after elections, down. Nothing again. You know, you only see when there's election time is coming, there's news, there's all kinds of news on the media. Some immigrants have done some crime here, some immigrants have done this here, some immigrants have done this there, immigration is taking birth all over the place.
Yeah, they're steering the voters.
Yes, they're
towards
steering the voters to the direction. Then people have this fear, you know, that, oh, this thing is happening. No, they are taking our jobs. They are taking our women.
we have to
Oh,
block this.
yeah, we have to block this. You
taking
know,
our women.
Exactly, our women. Like, you know, so
That's a sort of like base primitive thinking.
Exactly. You know, so all those things, and they're steering those voters and putting them there to go to vote. And after election, all that goes away. Then now the politicians come and then they do something else, you know. So those things is all their tactics. And again, in a way, that's why we're saying that this government is fundamentally founded on a platform that you can say is very racist, because it treats people differently based on their skin color, where they come from. And one of their policies is that they want immigrants to come to Finland, those ones who are coming to do like 40K jobs annually. And when you look about that, it should be only, you cannot just come to Finland and have 40K job. You know, very few people make like, you know, like 4,000 a month. That's what they're asking, 4,000 a month. So it's a lot of money, and you can only have expats from maybe Britain, Italy, France, Germany, you know, America, those kind of people who can come straight to work like in some big companies and make 4, 5K or even 7K a month. So
I think also that the average salaries for Finnish people is lower than that.
Yeah, it's about 2,500.
So they are actually putting the bar really high.
Yes,
yeah,
really high.
This is a way to block the door.
Yeah,
it's a way to shut everything off.
It is the way to shut everything off, and
that's institutional racism.
That is the thing. So
and it's crazy because you were saying also at the beginning. Anyway, Finland is proud for being a country that is equal.
Yeah.
They treat men and women equally. They try to to diminish or demolish the barrier between and the difference between the two.
Yeah.
Politics in all the bureaucracy and government roles. So it's good that actually you are starting this work to actually talk about something that was taboo, because then maybe we can see that hopefully we see the day in which also this equality it's taken in account as important as much as between men and women. There should not be differences.
Yeah, definitely. So that is the thing, and I think that it's very, very, very good positive step for Finland. Like I always say again, it's not too long ago that Africa was colonized, and it's not more than a generation ago. So this thing, and it takes time also, and I remember that there was once I was having a conference somewhere, I was speaking somewhere, and then one old man came to me and said to me, the first time I saw a black person was the 1952 Olympics in Finland, that I met one black person in a train going to Helsinki. Yeah. It was so shocked, I was like, really? But that was someone who was like in his 70s already. So he was so happy to tell me that now he's glad that, people are here and people can see things, because he thinks that people think that this world finished what they have their mind. He was just saying that people need to see, because for himself, the first time it was in the Olympics that he saw some people who were not white coming to Finland for the Olympics.
Yeah.
And
but probably this same guy maybe he has kids,
they
have kids, and those kids go to school with all sorts of races.
Now so it's different. Yeah,
really fast the change.
Very exact. That's what I'm saying. You see that it's not too long ago that somebody could have that experience, but right now, his children or their children's children are in school with the world and everyone else, and kids are now at home playing video games with people from different part of the world. In America, Canada, different. I have many of this. They are connected. They are playing and talking, and I have met many young people these days who have learned their English just from video games, playing with different person, and they speak excellently and fluently. This thing. So the world now is very connected, and these are the things that we hope that But also, we must never forget that there's the absence of dark, or the absence of darkness doesn't mean the absence of when there's what I want to say is like when there is light, you think that there's no darkness. There's darkness, but it's just that there's light. So the world now, we have so much light in the world that we see things and things are bright. We shouldn't forget that there's darkness still in that light, but the light is just stronger than the darkness, and that's why things are bright. So we should continue try to.
There is work to be done.
There's work to be done to keep the flame burning, because if we go in and say, okay, we have done this and it's finished, I'm telling you that the darkness is going to come back again and take over everything. And that's why, for example, in Europe, European Union have made it a commitment that Nazism will never rise its face in Europe, because they have seen it themselves firsthand, what it did in Europe, and they have made laws, that is permanent, because they know what that is.
That can happen.
That can happen, and I have my friends who are from Germany that they're saying that in Germany is also very strong laws about those things that they have made, because people have witnessed it themselves. Yeah. And they know if they don't continue to push, it is possible that these things creep back in.
Then you unleash something.
Yeah, unleash something. So,
where do you see your organization going? And then I want some closing words from you that bring some hope for this topic and to all of us.
Well, I think that we are going to continue what we do and educating, advocating, for a modern civil rights society and equity in Finland, where everyone is going to be treated equally, regardless of their resident permit status, regardless of their passport, where they come from, their religion, how they dress, or how they look, or whatever. Regardless of even their criminal records, because we should respect the humanity in people. We are all human beings. There's life in every one of us. And we are going to continue to do that work by advocating and educating and taking actions against racism in Finland. And one thing I always want to say to people, that being an anti-racist is something that you need to do every day, because like we said in the beginning, that I cannot get up tomorrow and choose not to be black. I'll be like this every day. So there's racism every day. There's work to be done every day. So we should make it a lifestyle. In your workplace, wherever you are, try to do things in a way that you treat people equally and fairly, and you don't have any kind of racist thinking, or even if you have, relearn new things,
Yeah,
and,
don't
and
act
change.
on it
Don't
and
act on
change.
it. It's good to acknowledge things and make changes and go forward. So, and sometimes people always think like, oh, it takes a lot of work or a lot of effort. I always say no, because I have this, I always say about this African proverb that I always refer to all the time, in a way that, if you think that you're too small to make a change, you should try to spend a night in your tent with a mosquito. One single mosquito in a tent, you can't sleep.
Okay, great. Yeah, it's true. It's
So
true.
the small things you can do is the most important things, not the big ones. The small pieces of
Yeah,
the puzzle. We put it
incrementally,
exactly. It goes
It
together.
build up.
Yeah. So if you are in a train, in a bus, in a bar, or anywhere that you are, you see someone is behaving badly towards somebody, you can say, hey, leave them alone.
True.
That simple act of kindness from you might actually be the difference between life and death for some people. It can mean a lot to people, because what I always explain to white people is that if somebody sat in a room or somewhere and they're experiencing racism, for example, some people are like doing some stuff to them, and everyone else in that room sees what is going on, and then they just mind on their business.
Yeah.
The victim thinks that everyone in that room is okay with what is going on. He doesn't think only that it's
Yeah,
only
this
this
person
one
is wrong.
person. They think that everyone is here, everyone in this
Yeah,
neighborhood thinks like that, which is might not be true. So if one person just come and say, hey, please leave them alone, you reassure that victim that
Yeah.
they are good people also,
Yeah.
who doesn't accept
true.
this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it is really that simple thing. And also you also shine light, your own light to their humanity. And there's this saying that as we shine our light, also it helps others to shine.
Yeah,
You bring back joy to them and help them. So the small things, let's
Yeah.
continue to do them.
Yeah,
They are very important.
And be responsible. Now you are communicating that people should be responsible.
Yes, yeah.
To carry this forward. Also, like if the threat is not against them, or me, then to anyway carry forward and
Exactly.
be responsible.
Yeah, because I think it is our collective responsibility, and I think it's a moral duty as well that we have to ourselves, that we try to fight for equality and justice in the world, not only when it's about you, or not only when it's about your friend or relative, for
Yeah.
anyone, we have learned those things these days. When you look around the world, you see what is going on. There was the earthquake in Morocco. Then the next day there was floods in Libya, and then the war in Ukraine. There's all kinds of problems everywhere. Catastrophes are going on. So the least we can do is to say, okay, but we are here in Finland, fine. We shouldn't forget about those things. We show our support and solidarity towards those kind of stuff. So it's the same way that we need to be doing, because some people just say, okay, yeah, it's not about me. Let me just mind my business. I might, do my own thing and leave and go.
Do you know that funny thing that many astronauts that go to the orbit and they go outside from the Earth, they come down with this kind of like changed attitude towards the fact that actually we are all under one same roof.
Yeah.
They understand the fragility of the world and
Yeah.
actually the fact that we are one globe.
Yeah.
It's not like fraction.
not that- yeah.
So it's very interesting how it can change.
Yeah.
Some bright thoughts and vision you have for the future, what you envision, and that pushes all of us then forward to teach and to act as actors and not just passive.
Definitely. Yeah, I think that, this generation, we are going to be defined as a generation that make decisions, that take actions. When you look at the climate crisis, you look at the disasters around the world and these things, we are going to be defined by what did we do for these things to make a change. The generation that came before us, they fought with their lives, to free the world. They fought 2 wars.
Now it's our turn to
Now
make
it's our
change.
turn. So now we might not actually take guns and fight like they did, but what did we do? Like what actions? The battle is different, So I think that we need to really see that and accept that responsibility, and do what we see before us that is right thing to do, and that might just mean that you loving your kids, teaching them what is right, how to behave, how to be, if have a, how to be a good, responsible human being. That might just mean that for somebody, and that might mean something else for another person. So, and I believe that the only way to fight against racism is by showing love, because racism is hate. The opposite of hate is love. So let us just try to love people, show love to people, give love to people, not because, they even deserve it, but just because we see them as human beings and we can show them that and give them that because we recognize their humanity. And that's the only way. And even if somebody also is racist, show them love, because I think, hate doesn't do anything. If you go and fight them back, as some people think that they do, it doesn't solve the problem. Choose love. And I think that that's the way we should go towards things, that we approach them with love and show the right way, because there's hate. The other side of the thing is love and compassion that we can show. Yeah.
You are inspiring. You are a great guest. I think you're doing really good work. You have a solid idea. You have target. You have passion behind it. You have knowledge, and you want to spread it. I think you're really inspiring, and I'm working on the same. We're on the same train, and hopefully we get the knowledge to spread as fast and as wide as possible.
Yeah. Thanks, really, because there's no me without you. So I think that you are as well also great and inspiring and doing what you're doing, because it is something you're doing for the future and for the community. So it's not like it's about you, it's doing it for everyone else. So that is like there is no me without you, because look at it, you have created this platform and invited me to come here. So you are actually the greater person here, not me. And this is how I want people to see things. No, really, this is serious.
Deep and
yeah,
really
that's
kind.
deep. That's the thing. This is the point here. This, you have arranged all of this and create this all, and invited me to come. You created a platform and just give me free lunch to come. That was like, this is like that, and this is the principle that I like to always put in things. People should see that,
I feel that each one of us can have an active role in things. And the mosquito story was really interesting. I feel sometimes like a mosquito in a really big space.
Exactly.
But I keep on going around.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah.
So thank you for being here. We thank you, everyone that has been watching us and that will listen to us. And let's spread this podcast so everyone can also learn more of what you are about, what is you are up to, and what is my story. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.